for this edition of the book. Freshman year, spring 1995. Entry 2 by Ms. Gruelle. Dear Diary, I'm so frustrated. This entire semester has been one ordeal after another, from race riots to walkouts. But I don't know if I'm more frustrated with the students or the system. Although they're a pain, they're just kids. But adults created the system. The system separates them, and then they're stereotyped as basic. But in reality, they're anything but basic. In many ways, they're extraordinary. But even though the labels have changed over the years, from bonehead to remedial to basic, the effects are all the same. It's almost like these kids are scarred from the get-go. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out how that if you tell kids they're stupid, directly or indirectly, sooner or later, they start to believe it. It's almost comical how stubborn they are, but so am I. So I guess what goes around comes around, right? My karma is coming back to haunt me. Even Sherrod, who is now a cocky senior, says, that freshman class of yours is bad, Ms. G. They're testing me every step of the way. They hate reading, and getting them to write is out of the question. And homework, please. It's totally unacceptable to be a schoolboy. So to avoid the stigma, one kid even turned in his homework wadded in a ball because he'd get beat up for carrying a folder. It's amazing how different I was as a freshman. Looking back, I guess I would be considered a kiss ass. But these kids would rather kick my you-know-what than kiss it. Believe me, there are no apples on my desk. And even if there were, they'd probably have razor blades in them. Even though a lot of people have just given up on them, I refuse to believe they're a lost cause. Judging by the turnout at back to school night, it makes me wonder if some of the parents have thrown up their hands as well. Even though their reading scores don't indicate that they're smart in the conventional sense, it's amazing how savvy they are. They're a walking encyclopedia when it comes to pop culture, quoting the lines from their favorite movies verbatim, or reciting every lyric from the latest rap CD. When I ask them what a dangling modifier, they say, dangle this. That's inappropriate. Actually, I hate dangling modifiers. It's a language arts term. I think the key is to build on what they already know. I've been trying to pick stories they can relate to and then challenge them to bring the story to life. We just finished reading a story about a kid living in the projects who had to deal with peer pressure and gangs. Some of them admitted that this was the first novel they've ever read from cover to cover. They loved the book so much, I suggested we make a little movie. Since Boys in the Hood is a realistic portrayal of their environment, I thought making a movie would give them the opportunity to emulate John Singleton. Sorry. My book has like dust in it. When I gave them creative license, they surpassed my expectations. They wrote a script, made scenery, brought in props, and even held the camera. The kids said it was the bomb. As a reward, I took a handful of them to see the documentary Hoop Dreams, because both the book and the movie deal with what it's like to grow up in an urban community. I read that John Singleton has a new film coming out examining racial issues. If I can hang in there until June, maybe I'll take the whole class to see it. They're out of control in my classroom, so I can imagine them in a movie theater. I don't know if I would be able to handle all of them by myself, but maybe I won't have to. Someone actually offered to help me take the kids on a field trip. His name is John Tu. He's a self-made millionaire. He heard about the racist reaction when I took the kids to the theater last year to see Schindler's List and thinks we're a pretty worthy cause to support. So, to whip them into shape, I'm going to have to get down and dirty. I'll have to burst their Beverly Hills 90210 stereotype of me by getting in the trenches with them. Since I'm tackling Shakespeare soon, I need to convince them that this guy in tights who talks funny has it going on. I need to show them that Shakespeare's got a little something something for everyone. So what I'm going to do is make the Montagues and Capulets into a modern-day posse. They were the true OGs, as the kids say, the original gangsters. And although the language, colors, and turf have changed dramatically over the last 400 years, the theme is universal. Diary 15. Dear Diary, Ms. Gruel's always trying to give meaning to everything. Like today, we were supposed to read this play, Romeo and Juliet, by some guy who talks funny. Thou this, and thee that. And out of nowhere, she busts out with, the Capulets are like the Latino gang, and the Montagues are like the Asian gang. Wait. 1 minute we're talking about a guy named Mercutio getting killed, and she sets us up with the question like, do you think this family feud is stupid? Like a dumbass, I took the bait and said, hell yeah. After all, they were biting their thumbs and waving their wannabe swords. Then she couldn't leave it alone. The next thing I know, she's comparing these two families to rival gangs in this city. At first I was thinking, what the hell does this I don't like that word, know about gangs? But the real trip was when she actually named them. I didn't think she knew all about that that happened up in Long Beach. I just thought she left school and drove home to her perfect little life. After all, what's it to her? All of a sudden, she questioned things that had never crossed minds before. Did we think it was stupid that the Latino gang and the Asian gang are killing each other? I immediately said, no. Why? Because it's different. How? This woman just wouldn't give up. It just is. I didn't want to look stupid in front of everyone. But the more I thought about it, I realized it is stupid. It's stupid because I don't even remember why we're rivals. It's just the way it is. Why is she always effing questioning everything? She always tries to corner you into accepting that there's another side when there really isn't. I don't even remember how the whole thing got started, but it's obvious that if you're from one family, you need to be loyal and try to get some payback. Just like it's obvious that if you're from a Latino gang, you don't get along with the Asian gang. And if you're from the Asian gang, you don't get along with the Latino gang. All this rivalry is more of a tradition. Who cares about the history behind it? Who cares about any kind of history? It's just two sides who tripped on each other way back when, and to this day make each other suffer because of their problems. Then I realized she's right. It's exactly like that stupid play. So our reasons might be stupid, but it's still going on. And who am I to try to change things? Diary 16. Dear Diary, we just finished reading Romeo and Juliet. I couldn't believe that Juliet stabbed herself over a guy she only knew for a few days. I guess I wasn't as in love as I thought I was, because I'd never do something that crazy for my boyfriend. At first, when we started reading this story, I compared myself with Juliet. We were both young and in love with a guy that we couldn't last a day without seeing. Only Juliet fell in love at first sight, and it took me 2 months to supposedly be in love. Running away seemed like an easy way for us to rebel against my parents' disapproval of my boyfriend. Yet, it didn't come out the way we had planned. Juliet's parents found her dead next to her boyfriend. Unfortunately, my parents found me alive next to my boyfriend. Lucky for Juliet, she died and didn't see the reaction of her parents, nor did she have to go through the punishments. I survived, and unlike Juliet's parents, my parents didn't welcome me with tears falling down their faces. Instead, when my parents arrived at my boyfriend's house, my mother was the first to get out of the car. As she looked into my eyes, I felt the shame I had caused her. She headed toward my boyfriend and started screaming and lecturing him. My dad came toward me, cussing and screaming. Unexpectedly, he punched me in the eye. Then he switched places with my mom. She grabbed my hair and pulled me toward the car while he yelled at my boyfriend. I fell because I was wearing high heels and my mom was moving too fast. She screamed, "Levantate!" Get up. My shoe fell off, I cried. She picked up my platform shoes and I got up. She pushed me into the car and started hitting me with my platform shoes. I held my hands up to my face and felt the heel of my shoe bruising my hands. She stopped when my dad got into the car. When we arrived home, my mother kept screaming at me. Eres tan estúpida por irte con un muchacho que ni siquiera conoces. You are so stupid for running away with a guy that you don't even know. I wonder how Juliet's parents would have reacted to their daughter's reactions and how Juliet would have responded. I just went into my room, not saying a word. My parents followed me. They kept telling me that I couldn't see my boyfriend ever again. They put me on restriction. I wasn't allowed to use the phone, have any company, or go out with anybody. That's why I'm here in Miss G's class right now. My mother thought it would be best for me to attend a school near her work and in a different school district that was at least 1 hour away from home. She thought that driving me and picking me up from school would prevent me from contacting my boyfriend and that I'd forget about him. It didn't work. Just like Juliet, I found a way to see my boyfriend. I ditched my classes and would call him from the public phones on campus. My mother didn't have an idea of what was going on until I got caught by one of my relatives. My aunt was on the same bus that my boyfriend and I were riding. My mom was ashamed to hear that her own relative saw me kissing my boyfriend on a bus. She didn't know what to do. Finally, my parents decided that I could be with my boyfriend under one condition, that my boyfriend and I waited until I turned 15. This is a tradition from my culture, indicating that when a girl turns 15, she is a woman and mature enough to tell these. Since I thought I was so in love and would do anything to be with my boyfriend without sneaking behind my parents' back, we both agreed to wait. So we stopped seeing each other just before my class got to the end of the story. I hate to admit that my parents were right all along. How can we both believe that we were so in love with each other if we didn't even take the time to really get to know each other? I was too young and stupid, like Juliet, to fall in love. Luckily, I didn't kill myself and have a tragic ending like Romeo and Juliet did. I guess I wasn't that desperate. We're stopping there for today. Put your bookmark right before Diary 17, and we'll do a couple more tomorrow. Thank you for joining me.